Okay, we're back. We're back on the patio, and now, Dave. I mean, sometimes the first impression. I think it's sometimes overrated that you never get a second chance to make a first impression. But can you think of a player who maybe at first flush, you watched them play and you weren't impressed, or you just didn't think they were a good fit, or there was something that didn't seem right, and then over time, then that player kind of won you over, and then they ended up coming and playing for you.
Well, I always try to be as positive as possible in anybody I've ever recruited, and certainly when kids come in and they probably feel the same about me. Where at first starts, you get in, you're excited to come in, and then maybe you're a little apprehensive. There are issues that come up that don't even have anything to do with the player or the coach. It's the pressure of school and different little things, and you think, well, I don't know, and in time, again, as we talked about earlier, it just everything is about relationships. Everything is trying to make things work, and nothing is perfect. What's the old expression? Life is never as good as it can be, but it's never as bad as it seems. And I've lived by that attitude for a long time, and understand, look, it'll all work out if you give it time. And one of the things I also understand, it's a value lesson for the kids and parents of the kids listening to this now, is that I've learned over the course of a whole academic year, a player is going to have ups and downs. Life is never perfect. They're going to have issues. And the coach wants to get a kid who's willing to work with him or work with her in the event things aren't going well, where she won't pull away and start finger pointing, because life is always about ups and downs, and when you have some down times, you can't go finger pointing all the time. You got to figure it out and try to see how you can solve it, and you've got a support team in college. The value of going to school is you've got a support team. You've got trainers, assistant coaches, teammates, tutors. It goes on, and your primary guy is your coach, because he or they're going to be with you every single day of the week, and they have a value to you, because they're going to spend more time with you than anybody else in a college environment. And so certainly players in time get surprised and thinking, well, coach, when I first got together, once I was there, I wasn't sure, and you're greatest guy in the world, or vice versa, when you're dealing with a player I wasn't so sure about, and they surprise you. It's just, it's always about the same thing in life. And what happens on a tennis team, what happens with the dynamics, interaction between coach and players and players, is the same thing that happens in life all the time. And the most important thing and most important concern or lesson you should learn is you've got to deal with it and figure it out, because if you can't do it now, it's going to be tough later on when you're a parent or you're an employee or whatever in any pursuit.
Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking of it. I haven't done a lot of college coaching myself. I was 2 years an assistant for a Division II team. And there was an interesting thing that happened. Coach brought in a player kind of in the middle of the year, which was unusual.
And that's the thing we can talk about. I like to address that.
And everything looked good on paper, but when the player came on, he clearly had on his mind that he would be the number one player on the team. There was an expectation there. And then his father would accompany the team and was highly opinionated and made his opinions clear to the rest of the team that things could be handled differently. So that was pretty difficult, and I think he was only there 1 year, and then transferred at the end. But have you had players who came in and they had an expectation, and then when that expectation wasn't met, then you kind of had to deal with that?
Well, I never had a lot of kids transfer, fortunately, but I've had issues with kids and thinking where they should be in the lineup and not necessarily happy. But it's interesting, the better team you have, the more often that issue comes out, because when you first come on with the team, they're not very good, but everybody's kind of happy where they play in the lineup, and that's good and bad. You won't have issues with the kids, but it's bad because the competitive nature of wanting to be the best doesn't push them to continue to improve sometimes. And so, but when the kids get better, you're exchanging one set of problems for another set. You're dealing with more high maintenance, trying to deal with more stronger personalities that want to be the dominant player, the top player. But on the other hand, you tend to win more with those kind of players, and so you exchange one set for another. But it takes a lot of experience in knowing how to deal with the personalities. Everybody thinks it's always easy to win with the great teams. Well, not necessarily. You have to manage personalities in different ways, and the only thing is, it's just it's a case-by-case situation. And it's interesting the thing you bring up about the thing about the half mid-year players coming in. There's such a value to coming to school in the fall because you get acclimated. There aren't dual matches against other dual matches or tournaments. The pressure isn't as great, and for the team succeeding, kind of work your way in. You spend a lot of time with your coach, bonding, and then when you come in January, all of a sudden you're thrown into the lineup right away, playing matches, not even getting to know the kids that well. No one really knows where you fit because there isn't a fall schedule to kind of determine where you fit in the scheme of things. And so I think that's something to consider. It's always hard. You'll find more often in men's tennis, because of limitation of the number of scholarships, they'll bring more guys in January because it won't cost them as much. Whereas in the women, they've got their scholarships and you don't split them up. And so you don't have that happening as often.
Okay. All right. We'll see you in the next clip.
Good.